I love how you just wear anything. Oh, wow. I love what you're doing with that shading and those paints. It's just so different. How are you failing art? I don't know. I really did fail art because of her. For like 4 years. This is Goldschmidt. So I didn't take opinions from art teachers personally, but what I did take personally was comments about my actions, and I worried a whole lot about whether or not I was doing the right thing. In high school, I had the worst counselor. One time I saw him in the hallway and I was like, hey! And he was like, no. Do not talk to me that way. What do you think you were doing? And I was like, oh my god. But sometimes I actually wondered if I'd said it the wrong way, even though I'd only said hi to him in a slightly different way than usual. I would think about it a lot, like how I should have said it. And I didn't even see him for counseling, but he was always telling me about his problems. Like, he didn't have a good relationship with his daughter or something, and he was going through a divorce pretty much the whole time I was in school. So maybe he just hated all happiness in the world. I had a math teacher like that, but his hatred was more visually obvious. He had sleeves of tattoos on both arms, but it looked like one of those shirts you see edgy 8-year-olds wearing to impress no one. I looked him up on Amazon, and they're actually like $30 for some reason. All these like grandmas are buying them for their grandkids, and all the reviews are obviously old people. One of them is just like, my grandson thinks he is real cool wearing this shirt.
Grandson loved it. Bought this for our grandson as one of his
cool
Christmas
shirts.
gifts. Grandpa owned two
It's
Harleys.
exactly what I was
Absolutely
Harley
perfect and one very happy grandson. Now he looks like quality garbage. I am so much.
Anyway, he was always missing school because he broke an arm or a leg while doing motocross. He dyed his hair red and black and wore a black tie with every single shirt. You know that one meme with that guy with the emo hair? He was that guy, but worse. And you would think a teacher like that would be rad as heck, but he was embarrassing just to look at. And they legitimately said, the bell doesn't dismiss you, I dismiss you. So because of this, and no other possible reason, I was really bad at math. And I was like, well, I already know I suck at this, so how about I just not go? And eventually I got detention. Even the principal got dragged into it, but he was like, Misha, I understand what you're going through. And being 13, I was like, that's not what his voice sounded like at all. That's just my impression of any old person. But I was really good at English, and I loved all my English teachers. One of them, I knew he was gay, but it was a secret. I only knew because my friend who had him before me said he used to be out, but he was harassed so much for it that he stopped talking about it. He always said wife, but he'd always stutter a little on it. And that made me so sad. I don't know if this is a dream or a memory, but after class one day, I went up to him and I was like, hey, I know. And he had this shocked expression. So I saw that what I had said had been a bad idea, and I said, and I support you. And he was like, oh, thanks. I have absolutely no idea whether or not that actually happened. I really hope it didn't. Because even though I had good intentions, when someone has something to hide, that's a horrible thing to say. Can you imagine hiding the biggest secret of your life that's already gotten out once and you had to cover it up again? And some kid just comes up to you in an empty classroom and is like, hey, I know. That could mean anything! That could have gone anywhere. I could have been like, I know, so give me $50. And I could have extorted my teacher for being as gay as I was. Somehow, I feel like that would have been more socially aware than what I actually did. Speaking of extortions, one of my teachers was pretty much as sad as the glass bones and paper skin guy from SpongeBob. Except he wasn't trying to take money from a sponge and a starfish. Rock Bob SquarePants. But he did fall off a cliff and break his back while rock climbing.
Some guys have all the luck.
So he was in a wheelchair and he said he had to wake up every 2 hours to massage his useless legs or he'd die or something. And he would end every class with something like, be your best self. And he always told us about discounts you could get at the local grocery stores, and he always wore funny ties. I'm sure he still does, he's not dead, but everyone was kind of like, he's nice, but that's so lame. And at the time I was like, yeah, whatever. But now I'm like, wow, that's probably the kind of person I needed in my life at the time. Aw, Mr. Dickey. I think about my old history teacher every single time I'm close to falling asleep when I shouldn't be. I fell asleep in his class so often that I made myself sit in the front row to try to stay awake. One day, he tapped on my desk and woke me up, and he was like, "If you don't start paying attention, we're gonna have to do something about this. Do you want me to call your parents?" And then, I don't know what he said after that because I fell asleep again. My old science teacher is still there. Aw, he was the cutest little science man. Well, not little, he was 6 foot. But he's still there, having his soul crushed a little more every day. Man, he was so bald. Every single class I had with him, at some point he would just give up on teaching and stand in front of the blackboard, being bald, with his head lowered, and be like, Nothing bad was even happening. We were relatively quiet students. I think he'd just reached that point in his life. It was in that class that I accidentally broke my friend's favorite ruler. He held a crazy grudge towards me afterwards while I felt nothing. What a monster. He whined the whole time. That's another thing I worried about for a long time after. But I later atoned for it by volunteering for the Red Cross for like 70 hours, where I met a sniper, and you can watch it here.